Okay everybody, I wanted to do a Holley sniper video, kind of give you some tips and tricks, kind of go a little bit through the software and kind of what I discovered on things that might be helpful for you if you're kind of new to tuning on one of these like I was. So, I'm just going to get the program started here. And you just load the Holley icon. I'm going to turn on the ignition here. That way I can read from the ECU. So I'm going to say download from the ECU. This is what's in the computer already. See, it goes through all these. Okay, I'm going to turn it back off. Otherwise it'll leave the O2 sensor powered, which you don't really want to do without the car running. So up here, a bunch of the icons. And you got fuel, sensor, some system, idle, spark. I'll start with the fuel map here. So in here is all your different fuel enrichments and the base fuel map itself. This is the little number representations of what your fuel map is. And basically what I heard from Holley is what you really want to do is hit this conversion button so it converts to volumetric efficiency. And then you hit graph. And so now it gives you basically a sloped representation of what your actual fuel map is. You got an icon here for left and right, and then another one for up and down. So you can kind of go back and forth and move this icon around and get different perspective as you're kind of staring at the map. Now you kind of want this to be a gradual slope like this, not really have any edges too jagged up in the air or down. And if you have any of those, you kind of want to smooth them out. You can see where I got this white triangle here, and that's a particular cell in this graph form. I could sit there and make that adjustment up or down. So say that was jagged. Now how you do that is you hit with the left click on your laptop, and now it's highlighted green. And what you do is you hold control and hit the up arrow to go up 1%, right arrow to go up 3 or 5%, I don't remember what it is, and down arrow to go down 1%, or left arrow to go down 3 or 5. So I can sit here and go up, and see I created this big heaping triangle, which you don't want to have. So now I'm going back the other way, and then I can go down and create a huge dip, which you wouldn't want either. So I'm going to kind of smooth that out for a sec there. And so that's a way you can adjust those things up and down in the fuel map here. Now over here is the learn table. And in here, this is all the changes the computer's making while you're driving around, accelerating. And here's your, once again, it's the map, your manifold pressures on the y-axis and the RPMs on the x-axis. So what you want to do is you hit transfer learning to base. And what this does, this is going to transfer all these changes a computer made to the base fuel map. So if I go there, you'll see now there's little icons next to it, and that's because it indicated a change. And I'm going to hit the conversion button again and hit graph, kind of look at what it did. Now you can see it created some dips and valleys that I'm going to have to smooth out. So you can kind of go back and forth between taking the learning table and adding it, and then coming back here and looking at your graph and kind of smoothing it out so that you're kind of making sure that the computer is properly kind of setting up the base fuel map for you. I mean, it's going to do a pretty good job, but obviously there's some room for an improvement. Over here on the icon, here's the target air fuel ratio. It's the same thing, got the map on the left, engine RPM. I don't really know the specs on my cam or the actual compression ratio on my motor. The only thing I did was do a compression test, and I had about 145 to 150 psi on all 8. So I figure I have kind of a low compression motor. I think there's some overlap on the cam based on what I'm getting at idle and stuff. And so I kind of just play around with what the target air fuel ratio is. I'll show you kind of what you can do with the car running, and I kind of listen as I'm making adjustments and see how the motor responds. You can see I got a kind of leaner on the wide open throttle. The motor seems to be responding to that just fine. And I'm running at about 15 at cruise RPM. So we're going to go over to here. Here's the acceleration enrichment. This is basically like your accelerator pump on a carb. And I think it starts at 10 on that, above that number 7, the TPS rate of change. And what I've been doing is, while holding left arrow and I drag across and highlight everything, now I hit control. So I'll hit control up. You can see it changes by 0.1. And so I've been adding fuel and then just slamming the car in first gear and throttle all the way to the ground, see how it responds. Once I kind of got the tires spinning and the car seemed to respond to more fuel, I kind of added more fuel and saw how it liked it, or took away fuel and kind of tried to find a sweet spot. I think for now I'm kind of sitting at this 12.2, and everything all in the same curve. You want to make most of these fuel curves